And here they are once again, Cathy and Russ for our pre-Scotties chat. And boy, it's sneaking up on us. We've got a great field where everyone's going to be heading to Thunder Bay very quickly. Before I get into the actual fields, I want to ask you two, because you've both been in the national championships. What's it like in the days before you're going? Is there anticipation? Is there a little anxiety? I mean, let's pretend it's your first time going. What's going through your mind, Cathy?
Just so much excitement, but you're also caught up in getting measured for jacket sizes and all of the logistics of trying to make sure that your family is there and that they've got tickets, and so it can be a bit of a distraction, and that's why coaches and managers of teams are really important. But I feel like today and the next couple of days before teams leave, the focus really gets to throwing on the ice. But the butterflies are massive, and you just want your plane to be on time and to land on time. It is truly a very special moment.
Russ, what's it like for you? I mean, I imagine you had to stock up on the corn brooms.
That's right.
You were back in your day. What was
I
it like
wore
for
them
you?
out so quickly with my talents. Yeah. I love what Cathy's saying. It brings a smile to my face. Just the joy of going for your first time. You even that far back, Cathy, you can remember that. But for me, it was more almost the panic. I got to throw some rocks. Can I find some ice that replicates what I'm going to get at the Briar? Yeah, it's very important. There's no use practicing on ice that's 11 seconds dead straight when you're going to go to the Briar. So you're running around trying to find a good sheet and getting all that type of stuff done, getting the team together to practice, working on some mental stuff. Like Cathy says, the last minute stuff with the reservations and everything that goes all into that. There's a lot more into it than people think. And back in our day, we didn't have the coaches and the trainers and the physiotherapists, and so it was a little bit tougher to do all those things and get it done in time.
All right. Well, we got the best women's teams in the country descending on Thunder Bay, and Cathy, this looks to be at this point, anyway, certainly the Rachel Homan's going to be the out and out favorite for this competition, and it's hers to lose. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I really think it is. And that doesn't mean there's a dramatic difference between her and the top runners, but she is the defending world champion. She has stormed through this season, proving it wasn't just a one-hit wonder. And the team is so focused on training. Things can happen on the ice for sure, but everyone will have to play at their absolute best to be a challenge for this team.
Russ, what do you agree the same thing? Is it like what would have to happen for them not to win this?
Well, to not make the final, I think the power has to go in the building. But if you get to that final and you're playing, let's pick on Carrie Anderson. She's not afraid to win. She's beaten Holman this year in a slam. Got Carly Burgess on the team now. It's one game, 10 ends. You take a guard, it's 2-0. Anything can happen. So I'd be absolutely shocked if Rachel doesn't make the final, but doesn't mean she's going to win.
What makes them so good, Cathy? Why are they such a powerhouse team?
Well, there's a couple of really interesting things that we know now about sweeping that we didn't, and height is a really big part of that. And so when you look at their front end, other than Brienne and Shannon when they were playing for Carrie Anderson, there aren't front ends that are as tall and that can put as much pressure. These are really strong, fit, tall women. So you've got an advantage. And when you have brushers like that, we now know that brushers make so much impact on the stones. So it starts right there. You've got a lead that was a Canadian champion as a third. You've got a second that was a third that has won it all. And so as you go through the order, and no third in the game can throw the range of shots that Tracy Fleury can. And then you've got the determination of Rachel Homan. It is a unique blend of talents that's pretty hard to replicate.
Russ, is there something to be said for the fact that they all get along? They haven't had any team lineup changes here, as rarity in our sport these days, and they just seem very cohesive, both sort of on the ice, off the ice, or even when they're on the ice, not really throwing.
Yeah, 100%. You can check every one of those boxes. Maybe more so the familiarity with somebody a little bit newer like Fleury. You get down to those key ends, the 9th, 10th end, an extra end, whatever it is. How's she throwing that out turn? Does she throw it a little bit wider? Is she throw a little bit narrow under pressure? You need to know all those things. So the familiarity of playing together. And I think the most important thing right now for this team is the belief. They not only do they believe they're going to win, they believe the team they're playing knows they're going to win. Right? We got into that situation a couple of times when we had Madonna and Corner, Len and I, and the other team found a way to lose once in a while, even though you weren't showing up with your A game. They're kind of in that space right now that things are turning up roses, and somebody's going to have to play awfully well to change that.
So
the only thing, Bob, sorry to interrupt, that I would say that might work against Rachel's, I'm looking at her schedule in front of me. Rachel's like a thoroughbred. She just wants to get out of the gate and run hard, and the schedule isn't going to let her do that. She plays PEI, so a relatively inexperienced team, at, talking about the tour in the first game. Then she sits all Saturday until Saturday night. That's a huge game against McCarville. She will love every minute of it. But then her schedule gets very spaced out. She plays Skrlik, but not till the next night. Then she's off for almost 36 hours. And for a team like Rachel that just wants to get going, the tendency or the risk, I think, for this team is to push too hard too early in some of those games because they've just missed being on the ice so much.
Why don't they just not show up for those first 3 games and start at game 4? They still might win. I mean,
just handicap the field a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's look at some of the other teams because there are some challengers here, some legitimate challengers. Who do you see, Cathy, that jumps off the page for you?
Well, every year there's seeding done and it's a very scripted format, but there's always a pool of depth. And in my opinion, that's B this year. You've got Carrie Enerson. So this is a team that has been through so much struggles this year of players and filling in holes, but there's some new life on that team with Carly being brought on. They're very excited. They'll be great. Caitlin Laws, maybe the record wasn't that great this year, but she's had a baby. She's back. These players know how to play. And the third seed in that pool is Christina Black. That is my dark horse, my light horse, my gray horse, because that team can do it all. And then when you look through the order, you got Cameron, you got Inglis. These are really good teams that can push you. Only 3 come out, but I'm looking for Christina Black to make some noise.
Russ, anyone catch your eye that you sort of see as maybe a sort of a dark horse?
I agree with what Cathy's saying there. The other pool's not that weak either, though, in this case. It was funny because McCarville always gets ranked way too low because she doesn't play enough. So whatever pool she's in becomes a little tougher. But they end up with Sturmey, who, in my humble opinion, is ranked way too high. Yeah. They snuck into the playoffs when Chelsea Carey couldn't ice the team. They got in, I believe, because they were 4th last year. But they played 10 bond spiels. Sturmey played 10 spiels this year, Cathy. Qualified in 2. So you've kind of got one that's ranked too high, one that's ranked too low. They're in the same pool and it kind of evens it out.
All right, let's deal with the issue that is the hot button one that we've all been talking about, and broom brouhaha. That's what I'm calling it. So we know that there are different kinds of brooms. We know that the World Curling Federation has ruled that they're not going to make any changes. So whatever is out there under their current guidelines is still user friendly. They can play with it. Cathy, what have the women decided to do, and what did they try to do?
Well, as you say, the WCF has said that, they think that everything is fine. So all brooms are legit. However, there have been so many issues raised by curlers. The WCF has said that they will investigate much more fully at the end of the season. Rachel Homan and Carrie Enerson went to all the teams and said, why don't we take this brouhaha, as you call it, out of the game? Why don't we all use the same brush, the softer foam, the white foam that makes a difference, but not the kind of that we see with the other 2 brooms. Some of the teams, most of the teams agreed to do that, but some of them declined. And because they're legal, what's happening now is that most of the teams will use the broom that arguably can carry a rock up to 12 feet further and make it move more like a joystick than we've seen in the past.
Russ, what's your take on this? Do you think this is going to be good? Do you think it's going to be bad? Are we going to see higher shooting percentages because you can't miss, or what do you see?
That's the biggest problem. If you look at it negatively, it's virtually everybody's going to get that much better. And we're to the point here now. It's a little bit like golf, where sooner or later a par 3 is going to have to be 400 yards, right? We're doing the same thing. Not for you, Kath.
I hope not.
But you think about it this way. It's the only sport I can think of in the world that after you release the ball, the disc, whatever it is, the puck, you don't have any way of altering that result, right? You can't putt the ball and have somebody come in and start brushing it, right? So I would love to get it back to making it a throwers game, not a brushers game. And we've gone too far. And World Curling has to do something about it. We talked about it last time. They have to do something about it yesterday. It's putting the athletes, Cathy, in a horrible position.
It is.
Because now they're phoning each other. Can you imagine the Tiger phoning Phil Mickelson and saying, look, I think your driver is going a little farther than mine. How about you don't use it this week?
Yeah,
See how that would go over. And so we're putting the athletes in a horrible position. We got Olympics coming up. We've got to make a decision on this. And if I got to play God, which I probably don't, get rid of the back and forth. You got to get rid of this directional brushing. You really do. And we all know that brushing originally was to make the rock go a wee bit farther. Let's go back to a wee bit farther, not 12 feet. Yeah. When all these guys, Bob, are in their heyday, when I was playing on a good surface, we try to match our rocks. If we couldn't match them within a foot, we gave them to the lead. Yeah. We had a foot tolerance. Now your guy gets in the hack and you know they can drag it 12 feet. You know, where are the misses coming from?
Yeah, I think you're right. Hit the nail on the head talking about the difference between the shooter and the sweeper. Before we go, let's talk about the hometown team, Krista McCarville. We all love Krista McCarville. Everybody loves Krista McCarville. She's going to be on the show a little bit later. And it's just, to me, having her ability to go down, play in front of the crowd. She was there, of course, a few years ago, but it was a very limited crowd. How much fun is it going to be to watch her, Cathy?
Absolutely. I'm just so glad for that entire team. They've been together for such a long time. You know, it was during COVID, and then when it went back, it was just the families the closing weekend. I played in the 96 Scotties at Fort William Gardens when it was a full house. Thunder Bay is a very supportive curling community. The great Al Hackner really put that club on the map. The crowds will be great. They'll be knowledgeable crates. And for Krista and her team who don't travel all that much, they will be embraced with so much love. It's going to be amazing to watch.
Russ, you never had a chance to play at a Briar in your hometown because it wouldn't have a Briar in your hometown, but it's too small. but you came close. You played in Ontario in Briars, right? I mean, like, what's it like to be the hometown team?
No, it's huge. Now, mind you, it can go one way or the other. You start 0-2, and then you start gripping the stick a little tighter, right? But it's there's nothing like it. You know, you're in the restaurant, you're going down the street, and people are yelling across. You know, hey, good luck tonight, Krista. And I think especially with this particular team, they're a home team. They hardly travel at all ever, even for this huge year when they're hosting. They still didn't travel, so. They've got everybody behind them, and I played a skins game, one of the first skins games in Thunder Bay, and there were 4 teams, men's teams. They broke the arena into 4 quadrants, each corner of the building, and I've never heard noise like it. They just, if the Wernick fans screamed, the Howard fans tried to scream, the folk, you know, we had Hackner in there. They know they're curling. They'll be so behind this team, and it really will be their 5th man, I think.
Yeah, they've got 3 curling clubs up there that are all packed to the rafters with players. So it's going to be a great work. You two will be headed up there very shortly after when we're recording this. So have a great week. Enjoy it. And we'll be watching you and listening to you.
Awesome, Bob.
Okay, Bob.